Chapter 6504. At this time, Revendor no longer had the patience to wait for him to express his opinion, so he said to Chavrin, "General Yuan, the Lord has ordered you to cut off the left hand of the Grand Commander. You must do it immediately. I will be here to witness the whole process." Chavrin didn't know what to do at this time. He quickly looked at John and subconsciously said, "Grand Commander. Your subordinate. Your subordinate." John knew that he could not escape this disaster. So he sighed and said to him, "Since the Lord has ordered you to cut it off, you should cut it off." Chavrin was panicked for a moment and stammered, "Grand Commander. Your subordinate. Your subordinate does not have a suitable knife. Besides, your subordinate does not have the strength to transform Chi into a sword like the three elders." John stood up and walked to the cabinet. After opening the door, he took out Rhea's sword from it, and then handed the sword to Chavrin. He gritted his teeth and said, "Just use this sword. It is a magic weapon given to Rhea by the wise emperor. It can cut iron like mud. Use it to cut, and your movement should be more nimble." Chavrin was helpless. He did not know whether John would hate him for this in the future. Even if he knew that he was only forced to do so by orders and did not hate him, it would be difficult for a normal person not to feel psychologically uncomfortable when seeing someone cutting off his left hand. However, he had no choice at the moment. So he could only take the long sword and said, "Grand Commander, how about I tie your wrists tightly to stop the bleeding in advance?" "Okay." John pulled out the belt with one hand, handed it to him, and said, tie it tightly." Chavrin put the long sword and the mobile phone aside, tied John's wrists tightly with the belt, then picked up the long sword and said to him, "Grand Commander, I'm sorry." John nodded, put his hands on the table. Then, he turned his face to the side, tears streaming down his face. When he killed his own brother with his own hands, he thought his chance had finally come, and he would rise to prominence in the future. But he didn't expect that he would have to roll down from the position of Grand Commander at the cost of losing both hands after sitting for only a few months. He was unwilling and felt a little ashamed at the same time. At this moment, a sound of breaking wind came from his ears. Chavrin raised his sword and cut off his left hand. The severe pain made John jump up and wail while shaking his wrist. On the other side of the video, Revendor couldn't help but sigh. Chavrin carefully wrapped John's left hand and asked him, "Grand Commander, what should I do with your left hand?" John said with a painful expression, "It's a burden to keep it, burn it." Chavrin hurriedly said, "Then I will do it right away." After saying that, he was ready to leave. At this time, Revendor on the other side of the video said, "Wait a minute." Chavrin hurriedly asked, "What do you want, ancestor?" Revendor said, "General Yuan, the Lord has ordered that in order to protect the secrets of the warrior's den from being leaked, you need to sacrifice your life for the den." Chavrin's expression turned pale in an instant and in a panic. John's bloody left hand slipped from his fingers. He pleaded to the video with a broken face, "Grandmaster, please inform the Lord that I will never say a word to the outside world. I only ask the Lord to spare my life for my dedication to the warrior's den, so that I can continue to serve." Revendor said expressionlessly, "Lord's order, especially one that I can control? Don't worry, the Lord said that after you leave, you will be posthumously awarded the title of General of the Cavalry, and your family will enjoy the treatment of General of the Cavalry." At this point, Revendor reminded earnestly, "General Yuan, if you are posthumously awarded the title of General of the Cavalry, your family can enjoy this life and no longer have to follow in your footsteps. Sacrificing you for the benefit of your descendants is a rare opportunity." Chavrin was already in tears at this time. Unexpectedly, after cutting off John's left hand, the next thing to be cut off would be his own life. Moreover, he knew in his heart that although Revendor's words sounded nice and let his family enjoy this life, there was naturally another meaning in his words. That is, if he did not do it honestly, his family would not be able to enjoy this life. Moreover, he also knew that he, like John, had no choice. Now John's hands were cut off, and the 3 elders were far away in Nigeria. If he wanted to escape, he could escape in a short time. But so what? If he escaped, his family would be implicated and would inevitably be exterminated. And he would not survive if he escaped. Without the antidote, he would die suddenly in a short time. Therefore, he was destined to die today. Thinking of this, he was completely desperate. He looked at John choked up and said, "I also ask the Grand Commander to take good care of my wife, children, and elders." John was also helpless at this time. He thought that he was the worst one because his 3 hands were cut off. But he never thought that Chavrin in front of him had no fault. But just because he was involved, he would be killed by the warrior's den. He couldn't help but sigh and said to Chavrin, "General Yuan, go ahead and rest assured. I will do my best to take care of my family." Chavrin laughed bitterly and murmured, "Even if I hate you to the core, I can't say a word. I lived a life of frustration. I feel so frustrated." After that, blood suddenly flowed from all 7 orifices and he fell straight down. John knew that Chavrin had already bitten his poisonous teeth while he was talking and died instantly.